Hello, everybody. This is Jenny.
And I'm Jess.
And this is a walk in the woods at midnight where we watch horror films for you because we know they come in two varieties. One is very, very good and the other is very, very bad. And that's mostly they exist on the ends of that spectrum. So you don't waste time. We waste our time for you. So we're able to let you know what's actually worth watching and what isn't. And we try to find these horror films, just anything that you can watch within the comfort of your own home. They're almost always free on platforms like Amazon and Netflix and Hulu or whatever, wherever we can find them for free. So anyway, this week we watched
The Devil's Candy.
The Devil's Candy.
And I said that to my friend Luis, and he said, "You're watching a movie about cocaine?" I said, "No, this is a movie."
I didn't know they call cocaine the Devil's Candy.
Well, I don't know that they call it they call it nose candy, and they call it the devil's dandruff, but I hadn't heard it called the
I had no idea that was a nickname for cocaine, devil's dandruff.
Yeah, that's what we called it back in college. So
I don't know if I have any occasions to use that phrase, but I'm going to try to shoehorn it in somewhere because other people have to know about that.
Well, yeah, if you're at a party and you see two girlfriends going to the bathroom, you just go, "Oh, what are you doing? Going to have some of the devil's dandruff there?"
Consider that done. And whenever I go to my nightclubs at this point,
right?
I do not. So I thought I could give a little bit of a kind of a plot summary of this first, so people can kind of get an overview before we start to talk about our own personal feelings about it. So basically, The Devil's Candy is about.
We want to make sure that everybody knows this is going to be a spoiler-free overview and spoiler-free talk, and then when we get to spoilers, we'll put it in the description when we hit spoilers, so you can watch it up to a point and find out, what we thought of the movie, what the movie's about, and then we get into spoilers. So like that. Sorry to interrupt you. There you go. Go right ahead.
That's okay. That's fine. So a painter moves into a new home. This is such a recurrent thing. It's always a new home or whatever. So painter moves in with his family into a new home. There is a wife and daughter. The daughter's about 12 or 13. And this is a family, like they live, it's like this place is like right outside of Austin. It's a kind of a little bit more rural place. It has like a big, I don't know, like a garage type thing so he can have his own studio. And these parents are pretty cool. They are like parents who, have tattoos and smoke pot still. And, they're raising their daughter to be very open-minded. And, so they're kind of what I'll call the kind of like stereotypical, like cool grown-up parents, like Gen X-y parents, or at least what I imagine that to be. So anyway, they so there's metal music is a big theme in this, and the father and the daughter share this love of heavy metal music. And heavy metal music is something that we should definitely talk about as a theme as we kind of move forward. But I thought it was a really cool way to use music, and to use music that it's clear that this, I think that's clear that the director really understands and probably likes a lot. And so anyway, they are in this new house, and the dad starts to hear like sounds. He almost falls under a kind of a trance. And you'll notice that as he's painting on these really big scale canvases, which look really cool, he sort of like gets into this hypnotic state where he's just, it's almost, he loses track of time. It's almost like this energy is flowing through him, and he just paints, and he's not even aware of what he's he's painting, and we can get into that in a little bit too. And so he ends up like often, completely losing track of time. He screws up a couple of times. He's, he loves his daughter, and it seems like he really likes to be a dad, and he's kind of failing in a lot of these ways where it was like the first or second day of school, and he had forgotten to pick her up because he just got so absorbed in his work. So there's that going on, and at the same time, there is this guy who is played by Pruitt Taylor Vince, I think is his name. Super talented guy. He's like a really kind of like this overweight guy. He's in a lot. He's like a really underrated actor who's excellent. But anyway, he's this schizophrenic man who
he's the former owner of the house.
His parents were the former owners of the house, and he lived with them. And so he would he was hearing the devil's voice. So there was something definitely weird was going on where these men were hearing this voice in this house. But he was there prior to the new family moving in. He had unfortunately, what he did when he was in the home, before the family had moved in, he was still living there with his mom and dad. In order to get the voice of the devil out of his head, he had this, and I'm somebody who's going to know a lot about guitars is going to say something, is going to kill me for this, but I don't know. It was some really cool guitar and crazy cool amp, and he would just play like the guitar, like this electric guitar, the same chord over and over again.
Super loud, yeah.
Really loud, yes. And it sounded actually
it was a flying
great.
It was a flying V.
Flying V, that's right. Yes, yeah. And so anyway, so he does that to block out the voice of the devil telling him to get more of the devil's candy. He ends up, I think, killing his parents and leaving. The house is then on the market. That's when the family moves in. So it's almost like I gave you the first bit or the second bit first and the pre part second.
Right. And so you have to deal with the fact that before we get into spoilers, he wants to come back to his house, and of course the house is already occupied.
Yes, that's right.
They don't want him to come back to the house. And so so they have to deal with him trying to get back into the house, while Ethan Embry, the dad, is he's kind of on in a low point in his career. He's painting butterflies on commission for a bank to get some cash for them, and he's not happy about it. He wants to do, first of all, he's got long hair, total heavy metal guy, and
super cut.
Yeah, he's like ripped to shreds.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
And he doesn't want to be painting butterflies for commissions for banks, but that's what he needs to do to keep his family fed. I don't know what the wife does, but she works too.
She's a stylist. I remember this because I don't know why. I was wondering what she did.
I didn't pick up on that.
She was like, she would cut hair.
Okay.
Yeah.
And his work isn't selling. He's been turned down by one of the prime galleries in Austin. I guess it's Austin. And when he gets, it's not a spoiler to say, when he gets into the house and he gets under those in one of those trances, and he starts painting, not only does he get sort of inspired, but it gets really dark. But not only does it get really dark, it starts to draw the interest of the galleries, this one gallery that he wants. And so it's the gallery's very interested in his work now. So now he's got about 8 things going on. He's got a gallery that's interested in his work. He's got that dude out there who wants to get back into his house.
And has taken a sincere interest in his daughter.
Right.
The weird guy has taken
weird
an
guy,
interest.
right? And he keeps messing up trying to make things right with his daughter, because he's a good dad, but he gets in these trances and forgets to pick her up from school, and she's always left there. And you can only say I'm sorry, it won't happen again so many times when it happens 2-3 times in a row. And I don't know that we can say that much more about the movie without spoiling it, because it goes in depth into creepy evicted guy's history. And we can't talk about that at all without spoiling it. And then we can't really go forward in the movie without spoiling it. But if you're somebody that wants to stop now and not hear the spoiler and find out if you should watch this movie, in my opinion, the answer is yeah.
Yes. Yes.
This thing rocked really hard, and not just because of the music. The music was cool, and the musical aspect of it was really weaved in there well. But it was definitely disturbing, dark, scary,
and smart.
Very.
So it was like, this is like one of those movies that, it's an indie, it's an indie horror film. And it's like, when you find one of these as a horror fan, one of these that is genuinely scary and messed up.
Yeah.
And also psychologically interesting with great character development. You're just like, how is this all coming together? This is wonderful. So I was a big fan too. It was great fun to watch. It was effectively upsetting. I felt purged of my emotions after watching it. So yeah, we both heartily, I think, agree
there was a bunch of times in this movie where I just went, "Oh, F word. Are you kidding me?" Oh man, whoa.
Yeah.
There was especially one scene where I just went, oh my God, that's
yeah.
The creep meter is just way past red on this. And so let's see, it is 13:10. We are now going to start telling our deep feelings on this movie. Spoilers.
We're getting deep.
Let me tell you something funny, first of all, because we haven't had a show in a couple of weeks, because I went on vacation and then I got sick. But we went to the mountains of Highlands, North Carolina, which was a lot of fun. It was very fun, but it was a cabin in the woods. So
oh yeah, that must be. I wonder how. So yeah, tell me more. I want to know.
So we unpacked our stuff. And we got in it, and it became nightfall. And Patty, my wife, said, underneath the house is where the laundry room was. And she said, I just noticed the light was on for the laundry room. I didn't turn it on. And I said, I didn't turn it on either. And she goes, can you go turn it off? And I said, no. I'm not doing that. You go do it. And she goes, I'm not doing that. I said, you're darn right. Neither one of us are going down there till tomorrow morning. I'm not going down there at 11 at night in a cabin in the woods to turn off some light that we don't even know how it got on, and I don't even know where the switch is.
You just earned your doctorate degree, I think, in horror films, in like paying attention. Good job.
I mean, that would have been a bad choice. And we always talk about bad choices made in these things.
Yep.
Like, no.
See, you avoided all of these curses, monsters, mental corruption, whatever. You just, see?
Oh
These
yeah.
are instructive films.
Oh yeah. You'd have been doing this show solo if I had gone down to turn that light off. Yeah.
That's
So
the best. I'm so glad to hear that story. That makes me really happy.
so this is an educational show too.
Yeah.
You do learn your lesson quickly. Um, so this movie, I didn't pick up on the fact that uh, um, that this mentally disturbed guy, I knew he heard voices in his head, and the fact that he gave his flying V to the daughter, I thought, now those are really boss guitars, and they're expensive, and they are known in the industry as, you know, like the gold standard of the guitars, and they are I'm not a guitar collector, thank God, because guitars are tens and tens of thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. So but I know Flying V's, the originals, are like really up there. So I thought that was a cool gesture for him to give to the daughter. And so um so that's sort of, I don't know if it was a MacGuffin or what, but it led me in a different direction, which I guess it was supposed to, because it turned out, you know, then we learn about this guy as back at home. Ethan Embry's character is turning his butterfly explosion picture into this deeply dark um, portrait of children
Yeah.
that are being what's happening to these kids? Is it
They're
they're
trying to escape, and I
trying to
think he
escape?
keeps saying, like, like they're making me do this. Like, I have to get them out. Like, they won't leave me alone.
Right. Right.
So he's working with that, and I think it's interesting too, about the creepy dude whose name is I know his last name is Smiley. It's so weird. It's like just a
In the
terrible name.
movie
Yeah,
or
his
in real
last
life?
name. No. In real life, his name is Pruitt Taylor Vince, and
Oh,
then in the movie, his name is Ray Smiley. I remember
okay.
that because it was so weird. It was like a creepy clown name, and he walks around in that giant red tracksuit all the time.
Yeah, and
Super weird.
then he's stalking them, and is he eating candy corn out of a big bin while he's stalking them? He's sitting in his car, and it looks like he's eating, which is the devil's candy corn. It looks like, because it always comes out at Halloween. It looks like he's eating it out of a big bin, one of those
Yeah,
plastic
like one of those
bins.
plastic things where you like it's like a penny candy or something, but
Yeah,
he
he's
has
just
the
like
whole thing.
shoveling the whole thing in his mouth.
And I think like the thing that he keeps saying is that like he doesn't want to do these things. He doesn't want to murder these children, but the devil is forcing him to.
Yeah.
In order, because they are the sweetest, you know, their souls are the sweetest, whatever. So
Now, I felt like when he tasted one of the kids' tears,
the daughter.
yeah, when he tasted the daughter's tears, when he said, that's when he said it really is the sweetest, or what did he say?
You really are the sweetest of all, because he didn't
After he
want to
tasted
do it.
her tears, yeah.
Yes, he didn't. He really, like, he almost was enslaved and driven in this way. I mean, the poor guy has schizophrenia. I mean, poor guy, he's murdering kids, whatever. But this guy has schizophrenia. He believes that you know, the devil is making him do this.
Well,
He does
something's
not.
making him do it,
Something's making him do it.
because something's also forcing Ethan Embry to do all those paintings too. So there is
Yeah.
some kind of evil force at work here,
Yes.
driving these two guys.
Yes. And I think to me there was a lot of kind of well, I don't know. I'm gonna back up for a second.
Okay.
And I'm gonna talk about his obsession with the little girl. He
Yeah.
keeps telling her, I don't want to hurt you. He wants you, but I want to protect you.
Right.
And she does something that upsets him. Oh, where he goes when he does something. I think he kills a little boy, and because the devil wanted her, he killed a little boy instead. And then he goes into their house, and he goes upstairs and lays in bed with the daughter,
Oh,
looking
that
at
was
her.
way disturbing. Gosh, that was the one, the WTF moment for
Oh
me.
my God, that was
That
so
creeped me the heck
scary.
out. Yeah.
It was not okay. So the first thing that made me go, holy shit, like this is serious, was
Yeah.
when he was like in the park watching that boy, or watching him walk home, I think. And then he watched him on the swing set,
Yeah.
and then he went up behind, and you just knew, and it happened, he just had like knocked him over the head with a rock, and then did all this, disassembled him, which we don't see, thank God. But we saw the parts that were so scary. It was plenty.
Yeah.
And then he did that to save the little girl, but when he crawls into bed with her and she wakes up and she screams, and he's sort of like, I did this for you because I don't want to hurt you, and so and he's like, don't scream, don't scream. So she screams, and he's like, now I have to kill you, kind of like, you blew it now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I'm trying to think of all the movies we've seen. I feel like this one, now correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this is the first one where it hasn't been a creature or a unseen force that is the malevolent presence. This is the first time it's a human being that is the malevolent presence.
And I think you're right. And I think that the thing here's what I was trying to think of, the thing that connects the two men in this movie, the father and then the weird dude in the red tracksuit who kills kids, is the fact that they are both obsessed beyond belief, that they can't stop to look up to see what's going on. So it's like, we all have, and I think and I cannot remember where it was, but there was one part where there was a preacher talking about, I think it was the preacher, or it might have been, I cannot remember who it was, and this is probably important who it was, but they were talking about the fact that the devil isn't who you see in the movies. It's not.
Oh, it was a
guy.
commercial on TV. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's about this force within you that you have to constantly be battling.
Mm-hmm.
And there was that time when he's discovered by the art dealer, and the art dealer comes over and is sort of like clearly making him choose between picking up his daughter on time, or staying and waiting for this success of, like talking to this art dealer, getting a deal done. And all the time he's wearing this shirt that says, find what you love and let it kill you, which is like a Bukowski quotation. Although I looked it up, and they're like, he's never written this in a journal that we can find. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but it's attributed to him. And so anyway, he's wearing that the whole time, and he's kind of struggling, I think, between what is he going to take on and let kill him? Is it going to be his family and devote himself to that? Or is it going to be his work and devote himself to that work and success, and just becoming totally absorbed in that world and in himself, really?
Yeah, I pretty much knew that he was going to choose his daughter, and I just wish he had driven a little safer, and he ends up getting a blowout. If he had just driven, a little safer, he would have been okay. But of course, then there's no plot point. So
right, exactly. And I think that there's some sense of like, was this was this supernatural? Was this caused by him on
Well,
some
that's
level?
true. Yeah.
Where, you know, he is kind of making this stuff happen, where, you know, there's a lot, I think, of kind of like mystery in that. I also wanted to point out that for an artist, this guy, he's a terrible artist. Like, I don't know, his it's awful to say, but I thought about it and I was kind of like, you would think, although it's an indie film, but you know, people can maybe argue with me about this, but it seems like it was almost like he was making these like heavy metal album covers as art. It was just kind of bad art. But I
I
thought it was interesting because he paid so much attention to the music and how he used that so effectively, um, almost as like a kind of a saving grace. You know, the
yeah,
music kept saving. It saved the guy in the red tracksuit from killing kids because it could block out the devil's voice. So
right.
that's when metal was very. It brought on this like sort of like the opposite of what you would think, the opposite of devil music. It was what
Yeah,
saved, and so and um, it was that connection in his relationship with his daughter too was a big thing with
right.
the heavy metal music. So I liked how he did that really well. But I don't know, I kind of wish that his the art was better or at least not as bad. I don't know, maybe I'm a jerk. Some artists, tell me
No,
if you
that's
agree.
fine. No, art is subjective, so you didn't like the art. That's what it is. And
Yeah.
what did you think about the say the last 10 minutes of the movie? I thought that was really radically scary. The last 10 minutes when Joe Smiley or whatever his name shows up at the house
Hmm.
uh, um, to cap. He wants to burn the girl. He's got the girl, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
He's
She
got the girl.
escaped though, did she? I'm trying to remember.
She escaped the first time.
Okay.
But let's see, because I'm picturing him with a gas can with her at
Hmm.
some point, and he wants to burn her in his old room.
Hmm.
So I think that uh, she gets snatched again. She escapes the first time, and then I believe she gets snatched again because she's okay. No, wait, because she's um, he does want to burn her in the room, but he uh, um, he breaks down the door, and the dad has a baseball bat
Hmm.
while he's got uh, I don't know, like a gun. He's got a gun because he
Hmm.
shoots the
Hmm.
dad.
Hmm.
Um, and what he wants to do is burn the daughter in his old room, um, in the old house. So she must have escaped, and I can't believe I'm not remembering this because I just saw it yesterday. But I felt like she got captured again. But I think he gets her in the house, and he shoots the dad, and the dad drops down. He
Hmm.
he smacks the wife, and she drops down, and he grabs the girl with the
Yes.
gas can and starts heading upstairs to burn her.
Hmm.
And the dad, through some kind of dad superpower, when your daughter's in trouble, raises himself up to try and rescue her. But that's a very tense scene throughout the whole very end of
Yeah.
of of his going after them. And they're trying to dial 911, and they've got police protection because they've complained about him, and they know that he's out there now. And of course Joe Smiley goes in and rips through the police protection,
Wait.
and that's where he gets the gun.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that going into, because I remember that image of him, I think it's after the girl is back home. She escapes, she gets back home. This guy's not done. he's walking up to he actually, I think he like smacks the cop, he like hits a car. They were talking, you know,
He
their cars
crushes
were
a
like
cop.
this, and he
Yeah,
crushes, yeah. And
one of the
so
cops.
one cop takes the gun, goes inside, just is, you know, just like this figure that is so giant and all consuming. And you look at him through the glass on the door, which they use a lot because it's got
Mm.
it's like stained glass and it's got a red cross. And you can see him distorted, like walking up to the door. And it really is, it's like gives you a tingle up your spine because you're like, this is horrifying and there's nothing
Yeah,
I can do. So yeah, that last piece was incredibly intense. And I think it started really with him in the convenience store, which was another really great shot where he brings up the gasoline to the counter and he sets it down and the guy behind the counter goes, "Is that it?" And he's like, he takes a lighter and he
yeah.
lays it down and you just see his hand with the lighter and this giant gas can. And you know, so that was it was just such a a cool, I don't know, it was just a cool visual
It
image.
was, yeah.
Yeah.
He does a good job throughout almost the entire movie of being a malevolent presence.
Yes.
I mean, just from the opening scenes, almost, you know, that he is um, like the personification of evil. Like he is the bad guy in this movie, and
Mhm.
he does a really wonderful job of acting that way.
Yeah, this guy is a really talented actor. I remember I first saw him in this movie called Heavy, which was now 20 years old, 25 years old, maybe. And it was an indie film. And he played this very vulnerable, like, cook who was sort of a mama's boy. And anyway, girl comes into the picture, and so it was a very heartfelt, sweet role that he was in there, gentle. And so it was interesting to see. And I think now that he's older, he is getting more of these parts that are a little bit malevolent. Because if you look at him, I mean, he really looks sort of like a giant baby.
Yeah,
Yeah, like he's very young looking, and he's very like he's just has like this childlike quality in a way, but in this giant lumbering body that is so tall and big. And you know, so he's perfect for a lot of these. And he's got this kind of um
this kind of role.
he gets this kind of role a lot. And you know, I mean, I want somebody to make this star, like have this guy star in something again, like he did in that earlier film Heavy, because he's really got talent, I think.
Yeah,
So
and then the very last reveal, once Smiley's dead,
mhm.
the sort of curse is not the curse, but the thoughts in Ethan
Hypnosis
Embry.
almost.
What's that?
Almost like that hypnosis.
Right. It moves on to something else where he I can't remember the words he says, but it's like um it's like whatever words drove him to do the paintings now drive him to find I don't even want to spoil it for the spoilers. It drives him to find something on the property that's very important,
Hmm.
which I thought
Hmm.
was a great ending. I thought it was a great way to end the movie.
Yes, because it was about setting something free, and he was able to do that, and he was able to kind of free himself from this kind of like slavery to his work. And there was the other guy, there was like this enslavement to his obsession with, you know, killing children, or the devil
Yeah,
talking to him, or whatever. So there was this great sense of freedom at the end of the film that was really satisfying, I thought.
yeah, and let's not forget to mention that um, uh, Ethan Embry ends up killing Joe Smiley with the flying V guitar,
Oh
smashing him to
yeah.
bits and stabbing him with the
In
neck
the
of the
middle
guitar,
of
the
fire,
fretboard,
like it
in
was
the
the
middle of
most
the fire.
it
It
was the
was,
most bitchin' like
yeah,
metal image that you
it
can
was.
conjure in your head. Just think about that, and that's like the
Yeah, it was like
quintessential.
the most metal death ever. It was
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you have any other analytical thoughts on this?
I'm trying to think of some. I mean, there were. I think the cinematography was really great on this. I think that there were several things that had to do with that red cross on the front door that they look through to kind of see who's
Yeah.
outside,
Uh-huh.
that were really stunning. And it was almost like a mirror into, or something that allowed you to see kind of maybe even like the evil in people. It was almost like this
Oh,
portal
like a
into like,
filter?
you could, yes, like a filter. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I thought that was a really great use of visuals. And then I thought that the music, I loved the idea
Yeah.
of the music as like a kind of a savior or saving grace, and this thinking about, the worship of like death and the devil and all this stuff, which is really not based on what I know, but not really what metal is about. It's I think a lot of the time it ends up being about like heroism or conquering something, or talking about how like sick or twisted something is, and trying to sort of like go through it to get past it. So I don't know. I mean, definitely I'm sure there are lots of different bands out there that do lots of different things, but I think in this case he really hit the mark with showing that side at least of metal, which was really cool. I don't really like metal myself. I don't know much about it, but I felt he used it really well.
Yeah, and I, as a dad with a daughter who bonds over things, we bond over sports and Star Wars. My daughter and I do. I felt the bond between them, especially that scene where he finally lets her have the flying V guitar, and she's just jumping on her bed, ripping off chords and stuff. And I just, it was just really fun. The bond between them, I really dug that. They really nailed that particular part. And I don't even know how I guess I'm just going to put horror movie in as a tag for this.
Uh-huh.
But is this a haunted house movie? Is this
Oh, good
a
question.
psycho dad movie? Is this a stalker movie? Is this a um, child killer movie? I don't know. This
I
is like,
think, yeah. I mean, I would mark all that with all of those tags. I think,
yeah.
it was, and I mean, it was really like the best tag of all would be like, humans are always the scariest.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Scary human movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I personally give this movie my highest recommendation. I think it was uh, really well done. Characters you care about, very much so. Um, it was done in a manner that kept me interested. It kept me on the edge of my seat. It was not a slow burn movie at all. I was never not looking at my watch. I mean, I was never looking at my watch.
Mhm.
I was constantly riveted by this movie. I thought the whole thing was put together extremely well. So it's not my favorite movie, but it's up there as a movie that is exceedingly well done, and I really think you need to see this movie.
Mhm.
And that is The Devil's Candy. I give it my highest marks.
Yeah, me too. Super fun, very good. It's got it all. I definitely recommend.
Yeah. Plus, it gives you the words "the devil's dandruff" to use at a cocktail party.
That comes from you, though. That's
Oh.
why people should watch this show.
And we haven't talked about what we're going to watch next week. So that's always the fun part when we figure out what we're going to watch next week. So on behalf of Jenny and myself, I will say, please leave a comment, please subscribe, please hit the like button. And we love to read your comments, and we are open to suggestions as to what we should watch. We don't like slasher movies. We don't like gore. We don't like blood for blood's sake. What we like are, well, just look at the movies we've reviewed. That'll tell you what we like. So thank you for watching Walk in the Woods at Midnight. Peace and love. Peace and love.